There's something almost magical about the ritual of a cup of tea, isn't there? It's that perfect moment of calm, a cozy comfort that has connected people and cultures for literally thousands of years. But today, we're going to look right past that soothing aroma and find out what's really hiding inside. So, we're asking what seems like a simple question, but the answer is surprisingly complex. What are we actually drinking with every single sip? Let's get into it because the story of tea, well, it goes way beyond just some leaves and hot water. You see, this is a story with two very different sides. On one hand, you've got this incredible history of natural medicine, like a whole pharmacy in a single cup. But on the other hand, there's a serious cautionary tale about the unseen dangers of our modern world. Let's start with the good stuff, the promise. And we're going to focus on one of the most beloved herbal teas on the planet, chamomile. For centuries, this simple, little daisy-like flower has been celebrated as an absolute powerhouse of healing. In Germany, they have this perfect word for it, alles Zutraut. It literally means capable of anything. And that just tells you everything you need to know about chamomile's long-standing reputation as a cure-all. It was the go-to remedy for generations. So what is it really? Well, chamomile is part of the Asteraceae family. Think daisies, sunflowers, that kind of thing. And its name? It actually comes from the Greek for ground apple, which is perfect because of its distinct, sweet, apple-like smell. Okay, but here's the thing. Not all chamomile is created equal. You've got two main players, German and Roman. Now, while they're related, the German chamomile is the one we're really interested in. Why? Because it is just packed with a much higher concentration of the key compounds that give it all that medicinal power. So let's shift gears from folklore to the laboratory. What does modern science have to say about what this capable of anything flower can actually do for our bodies? And honestly, the list of scientifically backed benefits is genuinely staggering. We're talking about a powerful anti-inflammatory, an antioxidant that fights off cell damage, and even a pain reliever. Studies also point to its anti-cancer and anti-anxiety properties, plus its ability to protect the liver and help with blood pressure. It's kind of like the Swiss Army knife of the herbal world. So why does it work so well? This is the secret sauce. You can see the active compounds inside the flower. Now, while sesquiterpenes and alcohols make up a big chunk, I want you to look at that tiny little slice for apigenin. Don't let its size fool you. That little compound is a powerhouse. It's responsible for a lot of chamomile's effects, especially that calming, sleepy feeling. It's so important, it's actually used as a quality marker for the good stuff. It all sounds incredible, doesn't it? A natural, ancient remedy that's backed up by modern science. But this is where our story takes a very sharp turn. Because the benefits of the plant itself are only half the picture. The other half is about where that plant grows. And that brings us to the risk that might be hiding in your tea bag. We're going to pivot to a really fascinating and frankly pretty concerning study that looked at what else might be lurking in our daily brew. So what they did was researchers took 30 common off-the-shelf teas, the kind you and I would just pick up at the supermarket, and they tested them. But not for their benefits. No, they were looking for contamination with heavy metals like lead, aluminum, arsenic, and cadmium. And the results? They were pretty shocking. Here's the big number. 73% of these teas, when brewed for just 3 minutes, had lead levels that are considered unsafe during pregnancy and lactation. Let that sink in for a second. Nearly 3/4 of just normal tea. So let's dive into the data a little bit. This table shows the average lead and aluminum levels. And the first thing that just jumps out is that all of them contained lead. The second key takeaway, where your tea comes from matters a lot. The study found that Chinese teas, particularly oolong, had the highest lead levels on average. This chart highlights another really critical finding. The longer you let your tea steep, the more of those contaminants leach out into your water. The study found that steeping for 15 minutes compared to just 3 seriously increased the amount of lead in the cup. Now, I know what you're probably thinking, okay, I'll just buy organic tea. But here's the real kicker. The study found no significant difference between organic and conventional teas when it came to heavy metals. And the crucial point here is that this isn't about pesticides. This is about environmental pollution, stuff in the soil and the air that the plant just soaks up as it grows. So, I know that was some pretty heavy news. But look, knowledge is power. So let's get to the most important part. What can we actually do with this information? How do we become smarter tea drinkers?
Well, the research gives us some really clear, simple steps. First, limit your steep time. Keep it to around 3 minutes to get the flavor without pulling out the most contaminants. Second, think about the source. The study did point to teas from China as having higher levels. Third, and this one is critical, be really careful with tea consumption during pregnancy. And finally, think about your cup. That's right, the study reminds us that some fine china glazes can also leach lead, which just adds to your total exposure.
When it comes right down to it, our teacup is a reflection of our environment. It holds all the promise of nature's best remedies, but it can also hold the evidence of our industrial pollution. And that really leaves us with a bigger question, doesn't it? If this is the story of tea, what else in our pantry deserves a closer look? What other stories are just waiting to be told?